This is great.
Ready to go?
Let's do it.
Okay, all right. Well, let's see if I can.
Just a normal day at Martin's.
That's
here.
right. Yeah, that's right. We do this every day. Yeah. Well, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to Martin's. I obviously want to welcome the governor's team here, and what they've meant to us has been pretty amazing. It's been almost 70 years since my grandparents started a business across town, and they had a vision for that business, and first and foremost was to provide for their family, as everybody needs to, right? They want to make a product that they could be proud of, and they want to use their talents and gifts, what God had given them. They want to put a smile on their customers' faces as they were eating a high-quality bread item that they baked here. And many years later, these decades later, our vision is still the same: to bake the best product and have the best distribution network possible. Whatever it helps, God helping us. And that's our cultural position. We believe it's important. It's about creating opportunities and being an employer of choice. Employees have choices these days, and we know it, and we want to be that employer of choice. We want to provide a living wage for them, for their families, and those families that work here and those families that we partner with through distribution. We're about equality and consistency in our product, because without that, we wouldn't exist. We've made an impact on the world, which we can't believe, from a little town in Chambersburg, from customers who say it's all about the bun. And what we found, it really is. We feel like almost like rock stars when we go to food service events. It's kind of crazy. We never thought. And since 1955, we have experienced growth each year, and we're very thankful for that. And to the point where we needed more expansion. And what you can see behind us is what we needed to have in order to fulfill the need of our customers, not only here in retail, but in now food service in the country, and now internationally. We're serving over 50 countries, from Little Chambersburg and Georgia. Again, it's all about the bun. You might have heard a couple of our main customers, Shake Shack and Dave's Hot Chicken, as well as many, many others, upstarts that really desire to use our product, and it helps them in their success as well, we believe. In 1955, we experienced growth in this little kind of garage bakery, which is up over the hill in our little museum, and we welcome you if you ever want to come see it. It was in the late 70s that my father had a vision to take our product into grocery stores, and that was the first time that we had done that, and that really propelled us to where we are today, and in the growth that created. We're grateful again for the partnerships that we've had with our local politicians. I want to make sure I welcome them all here. Obviously, Governor Josh Shapiro, Secretary Rick Seiger, Franklin County Commissioner Dean Hurst. Thank you guys for being here. Franklin County Commissioner Robert Zabrowski. Mike Ross has been a great partner. Franklin County Area Developer Corporation, Franklin County Chamber of Commerce, and Don Clapper, Guilford Township Supervisor. Without you guys helping us, we would not have gotten to where we are. One of the things that makes it difficult sometimes in business, it is limited to growth because of the government red tape and regulations you may have heard. And that can be incredibly frustrating to a company. But I want to applaud and thank, and we are pleased and grateful for the support we've received from the governor's office. We met with local leaders, and they said, hey, the governor has an action committee to help cut through the red tape. And I think you should be proud of that. You've done a great job of that, and I want to thank you for your partnership, and it is my privilege and honor to welcome Pennsylvania's Governor, Josh Shapiro.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. I am grateful for the kind words, and just incredibly proud of your leadership and all that Martin's brings to our Commonwealth, our country, and worldwide. I also want to echo my thanks and welcome to our local elected leaders who are here today, and our local leadership. We appreciate you very much, and it was incredibly cool for me to meet really the remarkable team here at Martin's who are doing great work. Y'all work incredibly hard, and let me just state for the record, you make a darn good roll. And in fact, I'll be a little personal here. Tony and I were chatting before, I know that faith plays an incredibly important role in the lives of so many here. It does for me and my family as well. And so, speaking of faith, I'm on the 8th of 8 days of Passover, which means I haven't had bread in 8 days. So let me tell you something. I'm going to be having a Martin's potato roll tonight at sundown when Passover ends, and I'll be enjoying a darn good roll to end our holiday. And I seriously couldn't be more proud of the work that goes on here and these rolls that are now enjoyed by diners all across the world. The people all across the world, as Tony was saying, are learning about Pennsylvania ingenuity, Pennsylvania manufacturing, and they're hearing about Chambersburg, Pennsylvania as being really the epicenter of those darn good rolls. I think that this is one of the reasons I wanted to be here today is to highlight that this is really a great Pennsylvania success story. I couldn't be more proud of the expansion that's happening here, but you can't just look at the expansion without thinking about the wonderful history. The history of Lloyd and Lois 70 years ago, who had a wonderful vision, who ran a business out of their garage, who sold some of their first product at a farmer's market. This is a Pennsylvania story, a story of those who had a dream. Maybe, Tony, they didn't dream this exactly, but they had a dream of making these rolls and getting them to market. And over the years, the business grew and the Martin family grew. And I don't mean just people named Martin. I mean literally the family that the Martins have employed here has grown into a bakery, into a restaurant, a commercial baking facility here in Franklin County that still serves as the company's headquarters. And that's an important note about Pennsylvania's success. I'm sure that over those 7 decades, there were opportunities to go elsewhere. There were opportunities to say, do we really want to expand here or do we want to look somewhere else? But they stayed true to Pennsylvania. And I think Pennsylvania stayed true to them. At every step along the way, you chose to invest and reinvest here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, bringing good jobs, great jobs, high-paying jobs to this region, of course, great food to Pennsylvania and beyond. And so today, nearly 70 years after those first farmers market sales, Martin's can be found in over 50 countries on 6 continents. Think about that for a moment. It's just extraordinary. They've grown 71% in the last decade, and over the last 5 years, I understand sales have grown 900%. That's a pretty darn good, delta. You guys are doing all right. And I think that's really because people appreciate culture and people recognize this is a great product and it's a product that they want to enjoy. And so our administration is proud to partner with you on the next chapter in this great Pennsylvania story. Martin's is investing over $120 million to expand this plant by nearly 300,000 square feet. I had the opportunity to walk through part of that 300,000 square feet so they can make more rolls and expand to more markets. And they're going to add another 127 people to the Martin's family here, which is awesome and a great deal for their families as well. Our administration, under the leadership of Secretary Rick Seiger of the Department of Community and Economic Development, worked closely with Martin's. And I want to be clear, we were complementary to this. They had the vision, they had the goal, but we were proud to be there as partners and help in providing a $635,000 Pennsylvania First grant, along with another roughly $35,000 to train workers on the equipment and the machinery, which, by the way, a lot of it is sourced right here in Pennsylvania. And as you heard from Tony a moment ago, we were proud to not only provide some resources, but we were also really proud to cut through the red tape and make government work in concert with Martin's, not in opposition to it. Tony, I hope you don't mind me sharing. I asked him, what makes you stay up at night? What makes you worry? And I'll paraphrase some of the red tape and the government bureaucracy, which oftentimes can slow down the ingenuity of a company. Well, I was pleased that we were able to be partners in speeding up government. It's a big part of what we're trying to build in our Commonwealth, a government that moves at the speed of business, and under the leadership of Secretary Seiger, that is exactly what we are trying to do. And so we're going to hold this up as a model for how we can move quickly. I think there's another story here. They're going to expand. They're going to sell a lot more rolls. You're going to enjoy a lot more rolls. We're moved quickly, and I think that's important. We invested resources to help secure that. But one of the things that oftentimes is not really noticed when you look at a great company like Martin's or others across Pennsylvania is really the downstream impact that they have on an economy of a state. Just consider this. I understand that Martin's buys about 60,000 pounds of potatoes every year. Did I get that number roughly right? And they assure me that most of these potatoes are coming from here in Pennsylvania. That's a great deal for our farmers. And so investing in a company like Martin's creates a ripple effect throughout our economy. So it boosts our agricultural enterprise, and it also boosts our transportation sector across this Commonwealth. More farmers are getting paid for their potatoes and other produce. More truckers are being called on to get these really good rolls to market. And it shows us what is possible here in Pennsylvania. When a family has a vision and it works together with government, with investors, and with a local community and a county in order to make it grow and succeed. And this is the type of success I want to see us replicate all across Pennsylvania. And it's why after 20 years of not having one, I was proud to announce Pennsylvania's economic development strategy, the first one in 2 decades, together with Secretary Siger, in the Lehigh Valley, which, by the way, is where these trucks come from, these Mack trucks, in the Lehigh Valley a couple months ago. This economic development strategy leans heavily on what happens here at Martin's, on manufacturing, on agriculture, 2 pillars of our 5-legged stool when it comes to economic competitiveness. This economic development strategy is going to help us create more jobs and more opportunity in Pennsylvania. And with that opportunity comes more freedom. So here in Pennsylvania, we believe in order to do that, you have to invest. These dollars that we helped contribute to the cause here, well, we need more of those dollars to be able to support businesses all across Pennsylvania, here in Franklin County and beyond. And so as part of our economic development strategy, we have to invest again. We've been losing out to all of our neighbors, New York, Ohio, New Jersey, and others who invest a whole lot more than Pennsylvania does. Consider this for just one moment. Ohio has 1.5 million fewer people than Pennsylvania, yet they invest 7 times more in economic development than we do. That means I have fewer tools to be able to invest in companies like Martin's to see us be successful. This is a moment for us to invest in economic development. To invest, as I've proposed, $500 million in site development so we can be ready for the next big company that wants to come to Pennsylvania. And let me say this just more broadly. We can afford to invest right now. Pennsylvania is sitting on a $14 billion budget surplus. My budget calls for cutting taxes and increasing investment really in 3 primary areas: economic development, education, public safety, the basic tenets of making a community strong. And this is common sense, and this is something that I think can bring Republicans and Democrats together. And by the way, if we cut taxes and make these investments, including in economic development, we'll still have an $11 billion surplus at the end of the day. This is a moment for us to come together, Democrat and Republican alike, to be able to lift up Martin's as an example of what is possible when you have a dedicated group of people, in this case, a family, you've got wonderful workers, you've got a commitment to innovation and development, and you've got government working as partners with them in this effort. And so I couldn't be more proud to be here today as your governor. We're going to continue to tell the wonderful Martin story. I'll especially be telling it tonight after sundown when I dig into a role. And I just want to tell you how proud I am of everyone here. I'm mindful that Tony got the opportunity to speak on behalf of Martin's, but he'd be the first to admit that he's got an incredibly strong and talented team behind him. And it was a pleasure for me to be able to meet so many of them today. One of your team leaders, one of the talented members of your family, is Kenneth Holt, the only person who came dressed appropriate for the weather today. And so it is my pleasure to be able to introduce Kenneth to this podium to talk about his work here at Martin's and the impact he's having on the community. Kenneth, the floor is yours.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Hello guys, my name is Kenneth Hott. I am a packaging lead. I just started full-time here in December. I originally started back in December 2020 as a seasonal, where after a while I decided I wanted to come back and continue on with this company because how much of it impacted me on my life. And I am more than happy to talk to you guys about Martin and why I love it and why it's such a great place to work and a good place to get food from. First, the community we have here is good, and not only that is my coworkers and supervisors are really focused on employee development and having a good life here at work and a good life outside of work. We function together to have the best quality production. We help each other with our jobs, responsibilities, but also when we struggle. Not every person here has a good day at work. We all have bad days, and we know and we see that in each other, and we see that in our as we work. So we try to lift each other up, try to help each other out the best we can to make sure that when we are down, that we have someone to help us. That includes our supervisors and managing team who are also coming down on the floor to help us to make sure we are doing well. Our management team is also very involved with us. They often come to the floor to see how we are doing and how well the floor is working. It is nice to see my supervisors who want to know who I am and how I am doing with this job and what they could do to make my life easier on the floor. They want to make sure we also have everything that we need for our jobs to make sure that the floor is running properly and giving us enough adequate instructions as supervisors. They all want us to be proactive thinkers about how we can fix the problems that are bound to come up, but more importantly, they're really helpful in making sure that we feel like we want to work here. Even the Martin family comes down time to time to see how we're doing. They take time out of their busy day to come down once a week, or at least one of them will come down and talk to each one of us on the floor, see how we're doing, to make sure that we are doing well, we are happy with what the company is doing, and see what they could do to help us to make sure we are doing well. It shows us that they really care about us. When I first started, my supervisor took time to train me one-on-one to make sure that I was doing the best job I could, and they made sure to keep up with supporting us even as they gave me more responsibility. We all want success here at Martin's and have good days with each other. Our biggest benefits that we have here, in my opinion, is the free bread and the rolls. Sometimes going to the store is the pain, even though we have one a quarter mile away. I like taking a left right out here because my house is right down the road, but just being able to come in here after a long day's work, just grabbing a roll off our stands that we have in here for our employees makes it a lot easier in my life, where we have stuff at home where we could eat the bread off of. Other benefits that I like is our health clinic and other programs that make sure that they take care of me both mentally and physically. I appreciate the gym membership program. Basically, Martin's paying me to go work out to keep a good, healthy physical body. That's what a young man will like. Gym memberships are getting really expensive, especially now as taxes are going up and everything. It also helps me stay fit for my job. We could easily walk 4 to 5 miles a day just in a few hours we are working here. Another benefit that we have here is I like talking to our work chaplains because they keep us motivated and help me mentally as I prepare for my day and why I'm here and what my purpose here is to do for Martin's. We have a lot of requirements for our job, so being mentally prepared and mentally healthy is a pretty big importance to Martin's company. A lot of other companies don't have people like chaplains or care supervisors that will come talk to you. I try to get my friends to come work here all the time because of Martin's. I have a good work-life balance. I tell them that is a good thing, that with our hours, our pay, and how much our supervisors are willing to take care of us. It is also good to see the company expanding. It brings me joy and happiness to know that our company is trying to put out more jobs and build more of a future for Martin's. I would also like to thank the governor as he came in here and our special guest that we have here today.
Thanks.
Thanks. Good job. All right.
Good job.
Yeah, great job. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks to the Martin family. This is great. I'll be quick to wrap up, but I did think it was important not just to thank the Martin's team, but I want to thank Mike Ross in particular for his leadership here in the Franklin County Area Development Corporation. You know, like one of the most fun things about my job is going to visit great Pennsylvania companies. This is literally a privilege that I get in this role. But it's actually extra special on a day like today. This is my second visit here. We met initially some months ago, talked about this expansion, the ways Pennsylvania could support. And it's really gratifying to come back for this announcement. And as much as we all love this product, and of course lots has been said about these terrific rolls.
And cinnamon bread.
And cinnamon bread. And maple bread, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. I gotta try the maple bread. What really makes Martin so special is how it's become an integral part of this community over decades. More than 600 people work here. And now with this $123 million expansion, that family's going to grow by 127 new jobs as well. This is great news. And let's be clear, the impact of such an expansion is not just about the jobs it creates. It's a boost for local business too. It strengthens this community, it increases revenue for local governments, and improves quality of life for folks that live in this area. And for us, it further cements Pennsylvania's status as a national leader in food production. There's a reason why agriculture and manufacturing are key areas of focus in the 10-year economic development strategy the governor mentioned that we released in January. We have the location, we have the workforce, we have the business and the environmental climate that enable success for these kinds of businesses. And in the Shapiro administration, it's our job to help cultivate these industries, no pun intended, by the way, so that ag and manufacturing continue to outshine our competitors. That's why we were so excited to jump at this opportunity to support Martin's. And why we're going to continue to be aggressive in making sure that not just Martin's, but businesses all across Pennsylvania can thrive and grow. The governor's goal and my goal is to plant a flag here in Pennsylvania, to show the rest of the nation and the world that we're open for business. And we've made big moves already, with billions of dollars in new private sector investment coming here to Pennsylvania since the governor took office. We're streamlining permitting process. We've doubled down on making government move at the speed of business, and the governor in particular has created an Office of Transformation and Opportunity to do just that. And now, guided by our 10-year plan and the bold investments the governor talked about a minute ago, we're poised to continue to make big moves in the years ahead. But today is about Martin's. It's about this team, it's about this company, and it's about this outstanding expansion. We are proud to support this continued growth, these jobs, this region, and maybe most importantly, these potato rolls. Thank you so much to Martin's for choosing to grow here in Pennsylvania. We appreciate it deeply. Congratulations on this expansion, and please don't hesitate to reach out to us in the years ahead. Thanks so much. Joe, over to you.
Thank you, Secretary Sager. And I know it is warm. We want to get some lemonade, but I want to see if anyone in the media has any questions for me or Tony or Ken or Secretary Sager or anyone else.
What do you think?
Yes.
For Tony, please. So you supported your family supported the governor's opponent in the election last year or 2 years ago. So now you're standing with him to announce your expansion. Why is that?
I'm sorry, ask the question one more time.
Now you're standing with him, with
Yeah.
the governor today to announce the expansion of your business.
Right.
Why is that?
I would say it's a partnership, and he's leading Pennsylvania from the executive side, and he's done a great job of cutting red tape. His group did a magnificent job of helping us work through it, and they deserve the credit. And I applaud him and his group for what they're doing. We may not agree on everything, but we agree on business, and we agree on helping Pennsylvania. And it's more important, I think, in politics when you want to help the people that you're serving. We have customers, we want to serve them well, and his customers are his people here in Pennsylvania. And so I applaud him for his executive stance on business and growing business here in Pennsylvania. That's why I'm supporting him.
Let me just say, I don't care who Tony supported. I don't care who anyone supported in the campaign. I'm a governor for all Pennsylvanians. And Martin's is a critically important business in Pennsylvania. They had a great plan. We were proud to work with them to execute on it. And I hope more and more people around the Commonwealth, the country, and the world get a chance to eat these darn good rolls as a result of their expansion.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're popular there.
I'll see you guys later.
Let's do the rolls.
Do you have information on what the expansion will encompass, and will it, kind of go together with the new production line? Just some details on what the expansion is.
Sure. The expansion here initially is one additional production line for us, and Primarily, the areas that have growth. I told some here earlier that we didn't really think we'd ever build another expansion here in Pennsylvania. Logistics are expensive, and we're growing, in Texas and Chicago and places like that. And so we eventually feel someday we'll have a plant in Texas. But we saw our food service business was growing, primarily even international side, and a lot of our expertise is here local. So we felt that it was the right thing to do is build it here. And we also built, at the same time, a freezer location for product that is shipped all over the country here in the U.S. and, of course, to overseas. And so that was primarily what this line is designed to do. And it basically built half a line, and it has room for us to continue to expand as that market continues.
Construction date or anything like that?
Before we go live here, our goal is May 15th to be producing for the market, and they're well on their way. They actually, we saw them producing today. Yeah. All that's not going to the market. We're just doing some tests and making sure the machinery is ready to go. Okay, sure.
Yeah, this is to the governor and the secretary, but all of you guys really talked about logistics. You talked about the area and the community around it, and obviously we are a step away from 81. So I just have to ask, what does kind of, especially with the governor's plan moving forward, where does transportation, especially 81, come into factor with that? I know Tony talked a little bit about the logistics going to Texas, but 81 goes.
Yeah, we're going to strike the word Texas from Tony's mouth for the purposes of this. No, listen, we understand transportation and infrastructure is a key responsibility of government at every level. We have local leaders here at the state and at the federal level. And we know that when we invest in infrastructure, whether it's roads or whether it's high-speed internet, you name it, there's a lot of different kinds of infrastructure. We know then commercial activity can flourish and commercial activity can be strengthened. That's one of the reasons why I've increased investments in our road and bridge projects in Pennsylvania. For example, we paved more miles of roads last year than the year before I took office. We're repairing more bridges than before. We're able to draw down more federal dollars, thankfully, due to the Biden administration sending more dollars our way here in Pennsylvania. And one of the things that I know doesn't get a lot of attention but is critically important, for decades, the Pennsylvania State Police shared in the same fund as our road and bridge, our infrastructure project fund. And I campaigned on the idea of decoupling them. So we would have dedicated funding for our brave women and men in the Pennsylvania State Police, and by the way, increased funding for the state police on my watch, and then recaptured those dollars for infrastructure, which is yielding hundreds of millions more in state money that allows us to draw down even more federal funds. So whether it's improvements to 81 or other critically important arteries across Pennsylvania, that allows the Martin product and other products to be able to get to and from market as quickly as possible. We recognize investing in infrastructure is a key and critically important part of our economic development strategy, and we're already implementing it. Last question. Yes.
I'm Mike Ross, and I just run with Franklin County Area Development Corporation. We've had a great relationship with the Martins forever. But I want to thank you, and I would especially want to thank the Secretary for his support of this project. And I've dealt with a lot of secretaries over the years. This is the most responsive secretary of DCD that I've ever dealt with. And he got engaged personally. And I really appreciate the leadership. We have a great relationship with Brent Vernon and the Governor's Action Team. But that's all been good. But again, and I'm a big supporter of your $500 million proposal for PA sites.
Yeah. Thank you very much. No, that's important. By the way, that speaks to our broader philosophical view when it comes to economic development. Work in partnership with local and county officials as opposed to stepping in and telling them what they should think, telling them what they should do. We want to see committed local leaders like yourself bringing ideas to us, coming to us and saying, hey, we got this great relationship with Martins. We think this expansion is great. They got their act together. Work with us. That's what we're looking for across the state. And thank you for highlighting that. Most importantly, thank you for highlighting the good work the Secretary does he works his tail off, and we're really proud of him in our administration. Last question, Jillian.
Governor, have you spoken to Penn's interim president about the ongoing encampments there, and do you have any further comment on the encampments there and others across the state?
Our administration has been in close contact with administrators at Pennsylvania colleges and universities, especially, in general, but especially over the last several weeks with the rise of these encampments and protests on campus. I'm certainly not going to get into our private communications, but I can tell you that there has been communication, and I'll repeat what I've said before. I think people have a right to peacefully protest, whether I agree with their point of view or not. They don't have a right to break the laws of a city or a county or the Commonwealth or our federal laws, and they certainly have a responsibility to adhere to whatever the requirements are for being on a particular campus. I also think that while folks are peacefully protesting, and even if they have honest differences with the policy in the Middle East, those protests cannot be used as an excuse to spread anti-Semitism in our communities, or Islamophobia for that matter. And I think universities have a responsibility to root that out, to make sure that their rules are followed on campus, and universities have a moral and a legal responsibility to keep their students free from discrimination and safe on campus. And that is the responsibility not just of the Penn president, but all college and university presidents across Pennsylvania. And we're going to continue to reiterate that responsibility that each and every one of them have. Thank you all very, very much. Appreciate it.
Hey, great job, man.